Vicky, roll call, please.
Owen Barnes.
Here.
Nina Fontana.
Here.
Vicky Aaron in favor. Here. Mary Hess.
Here.
Tom Tia.
Here.
Victoria Newport.
Here.
Tracy Williams.
Here. I tried to talk Carol into helping me with the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. Can you do that, Carol? Sure. Will you help me? Okay, come on.
All right, you're up.
Ready, Carol? Here we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice job, Carol. All right, public participation and recognition. I'm sure most of you who have attended before see a much larger audience than we're used to. Being on the school board is not always a bad thing. It's oftentimes a very good thing, and tonight is an example of that. So we have several recognitions. First, we're going to recognize the founders of multi-elementary physical education programs before receiving the 2014 Blue Ribbon Award for Outstanding Physical Education Programs by the Illinois Association of Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance. Physical education teachers at Malta are Lisa Boyle. Is Lisa here? Stand up, please. Brandon Dow. And our founders are Steve Bell. And Brandon works at Founders as well. And the one and only Shay Stega. And Ms. Kelly Zerby. We have with us tonight, I recognize her, I saw her walk in, Maureen, there she is. Maureen Fournier from the IAHPERD will attend to share more information about the award. Maureen?
Good evening. Thank you so much for inviting us to come out here. I am the chairperson of the Blue Ribbon Committee for our IAHPERD, which is our state physical education organization. And I also had the pleasure of doing the site evaluation visit for both Malta and Founders School. First of all, I'd like to thank the school board for all your support in recognizing the importance of having daily quality physical education. I'd like to thank the parents for your support, because without both the school board and the parents, daily physical education would not happen. And it does not happen throughout the state, even though it should. So I really commend you on behalf of IAHPERD. We are so appreciative of all the support that you have given the physical education departments in all your schools. When we went to Malta and Founders, we found the teachers professional, enthusiastic, and the children just awesome. They were so excited about going into physical education. They enjoyed doing the physical activities that the teachers provided. The parents that we interviewed, they were enthusiastic about the life skills that the physical education department was teaching their children. It's not just throw out the ball like many people maybe remember a long time ago. We're here to teach children how to make healthy choices, how to be physically active for life. For those of you who don't know too much about the physical education program, in order to be a Blue Ribbon school, they have to submit a 7-page evaluation criteria. We look at the curriculum, we look at instruction, we look at the facilities, equipment, and financing, we look at medical and safety, and we look at the administration. And through all of that, the committee decides whether or not a site visit is warranted. During the site visit, we spent all day talking to students, talking to parents, talking to board members, administration, and teachers. We make sure that everything that was sent to us is all on the up and up. And I can honestly say that you have two of the most fantastic programs throughout the state. The Blue Ribbon program is very selective. We only have 66 Blue Ribbon schools throughout the whole state of Illinois. So your schools, you can be very proud of the work that they do. I would also like to invite the school board and the administration of Malta and Founders to our award ceremony on November 20th. Pheasant Run, thank you. Pheasant Run. Hors d'oeuvres will be served at 6:15. The award ceremony starts at 7:15. There, the schools will receive a huge banner that they can put in the gym, and they will also receive a plaque. So I would encourage you to come. It's a wonderful evening. We do have 13 schools this year, and I am so proud of Founders in Malta for the excellent job they do. Thank you so much for allowing me to come out.
Thank you, Maureen. I know you're used to driving to DeKalb. We did this a year or so ago with the folks in Portland. And really what that does is that speaks volumes. When there's only 66 schools in the state that are Blue Ribbon schools, we have 3 of them here in town.
That's right.
You know, so that's saying something. So thank you, Kelly and gang. Thank you very much. Shay, everybody, thanks so much. Okay, some of you may notice that the front table looks a little different than it normally does. Again, tonight's one of the fun things we get to do. We'd like to recognize this evening the conference champion, NI Big 12 Conference Championship golf team. For those of us that have tried to play golf over the years, we can appreciate what it means when somebody comes in and records a score of 200 par, which I believe Mr. Freeman did on the first invite. Is that correct? They do stuff like that all the time. I don't know about 200, but they're, yeah. But they have just competed all fall with some very good golf teams. And I'm going to ask Coach Cordes to kind of highlight what you've accomplished this year. Okay?
All right. Well, we finished first in a number of invites. We started out the year at the Boylan invite and won first. We came back the next invite. I'm not sure which one of these it is.
How many teams at Boylan?
13 at Boylan. The next day was, I think, 18, or the next meet was maybe 18 teams, and that was the Larkin invite, and we won the Larkin invite. Next invite was Geneva, and I think we didn't get anything for that one. I think we were 5th out of 20. They only gave the first 3 teams. We went to the Fenton invite where there's 28 teams, and we got 3rd place at Fenton. We went, I don't know. It's Freeport. We went to Rockford first, and we finished 2nd out of 29 teams. We went to Freeport. We finished 1st out of 13 teams. We went to Sterling. We tied for 3rd. We lost on a 5th score, so we finished 4th. They only gave the top 3. And we went to LaSalle Peru last weekend. We tied for 1st. And we lost another one on a 5th score, so we got 2nd out of 23 at LaSalle Peru. So we haven't done anything where we have finished worse than in 5th place in an invite. Today we went up to the Rockford East Regional, and the top 3 teams qualify as a team to the sectional, and we finished 2nd. Lost to Boylan by 2 strokes, so we missed out on a little bit of Boylan stew. But we'll end that joke there. But very successful. We've got a chance to, if we finish in the top 3 next week out of 12 teams, 12 quality teams, a lot of quality teams, but if we can finish in the top 3, we'll qualify a team for state for the first time since 1980. Who knows when? So really looking forward to that. We know it'll be a tough task, but we will be up for the task and hopefully have a great day. So
Well, first and foremost, we'd like to congratulate my old friend John. Well done. Mr. Hoyle, hey, introduce you guys down the chain.
Yeah. Jacob Cook, Hunter Tigelaar, Aaron York, Austin Freeman, Ben Mounds, Andrew Johannan, Ben Vance, and a few others that couldn't make it tonight, but they've been outstanding all year. I told my group last year it's the top to bottom the best group that I've ever coached as far as gentlemen, and for the most part they're all back, and we got some sophomores that were on the fresh soft team last year, and they've just come in and just been a pleasure to work with, and they've been great all year, and we're looking forward to finishing up the season and hopefully in great style.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you will. Well done. I'll let you. Well done, guys. That's awesome. Just awesome. Well done, Jason. Been straight now.
It's long.
All right, along those same lines, thank you for coming, guys. I do appreciate it. Along those same lines, we have a couple other recognitions to make. So I'm sure you guys noticed this is a little different than the golf team here, a little different look. But first, we'd like to recognize Coach Matt Weckler in his second year here at DeKalb High School. Some of you may have seen it in the paper. Matt was selected as the IHSA Coach of the Week by the Chicago Bears for a week. Along with that, and I don't have the laundry list of things that are included, but I know that he'll be recognized at a game against the Detroit Lions, I believe December 21st at Soldier Field. He's been invited to have lunch at Palace Hall, and I believe attend the practice and see how the Bears do it.
Don't let him hire you.
Yeah. But you know, just there's 9 of those guys selected statewide for all classes. That's not by class; that's in the state. So Matt, we commend you. Thank you very much. All right, next, I'm going to slide around real quick. And we asked the football team to come in because there's no reason to wait until the end of the year to celebrate good things, right? Many of us haven't seen this trophy in a long time. This is the Castle Challenge Football Classic trophy, traveling trophy. We thank all of you. We are very proud of you. This has not been easy for these guys. Those of us that have known them for many years and watched them through junior high on up, we knew what a good group of kids this is, and they are. So along with Coach Weckler and his recognition already this year, there's no doubt that these young men are starting to turn some heads statewide already. On the evening of the Castle Challenge, and I only remember a few stats, and they're from the paper, so Katie, if they're wrong, I'm calling you, okay? But DeKalb won 55-40. In the third quarter, DeKalb ran 5 plays from scrimmage and scored 20 points. Sycamore ran 23 plays from scrimmage that same quarter and scored 8 points. It was a shootout, and it was not as close as the score might indicate. I'll say that. I'll say that. They started the year out with a win against Vernon Hills. They've had impact on the culture of athletics at DeKalb. You've had impact on kids younger than you. We hear the junior high kids the KYFL kids talking about the high school football team. We know how hard you've worked. I see you guys out there at 7:30 in the morning, most summer days, when everybody else is having coffee on their back deck. And that's how I heard you, by the way. But we appreciate your efforts, and we want to recognize what you've done so far. But the other thing I want to say to you collectively as a community and as a school district, you've been very good role models for those below you or younger than you. You've been very good role models across the board, not just in football, okay? Because you've conducted yourself so well. The community is paying attention. Some of you may or may not know, the parents of the football team over the years have supplied pasta dinners on Thursday night for the kids before games. This week, the Moose Club offered to help. They wanted to get involved. So the parents get the week off, and the Moose Club is coming in to provide pasta dinners. In the years that this has been going on, there's never been community involvement like this. The good news is, the payback is, the parents decided since they get the week off, they're going to do it really big next week, and the freshmen get to come. So you got to share with them. But we appreciate your efforts, and Matt, I'm going to have you introduce the kids. The last thing I want to say, though, is we've enjoyed watching you, and I want to make sure you guys enjoy the moment as well, right? Because it goes quickly. We only have 3 weeks left. And, of regular season. I know you're far from done, but as of right now, we know who the next 3 opponents are, right? And whatever it is, if it's 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is, take time to enjoy that, because Dre and some of you are in your senior year. So make sure you take time to breathe and enjoy it and take it in. All right? Matt?
I'll just have you guys, as they go through here, introduce themselves. It's good, I think, for those guys to do that.
Mike Newman, assistant coach, offensive line.
Devontae Thompson, right tackle.
Zach Stefanski, center.
Lewis Fry, left guard.
George Zade, running back. Derek Tyler, quarterback. Ian Kowalski, offensive line.
Ray Brown, running back, senior.
Jonathan Vega, linebacker.
Al Lederer, linebacker. Tatum Vaughn, linebacker.
Jay Packendall, linebacker. Leif Williams, linebacker.
Robert Searles, linebacker.
Tony Tate, running back.
And I'll finish up on Tyler Bell, coach, offensive coordinator.
Just a little bit about these guys. You know, the award that I have is a testament to these guys. Literally. These guys and my offensive staff and defensive staff, coaching wise, to me, it's a group collective award. And yes, they hand it to the head coach, but you know, for me, it's what these guys have done and what they have accomplished and what they're going to accomplish. So, you know, to me, or should I say, for us to get that award is a huge plus for our program. I think for the community and for, you know, everybody involved. It's a big thing for DeKalb, and it shows that we're going in the right direction. And as Tracy said, you know, a lot of these guys spent their off season, their summer at 7:30 in the morning. You know, 2 week summer camp in July, 1 week summer camp in June, 6, 7-on-7 competitions at NIU. It's a year-long almost process for these guys that don't play any other sports, and a testament to these guys and watch many of them do, which we promote and we want them to do. So, you know, these guys are earning or have earned every bit of recognition that they've gotten because they put the time and effort and did it. And you know, I appreciate all of you guys coming and watching us, supporting us. And please, if you haven't, just come and watch us one time. It's exciting. These guys are exciting. We're having a lot of fun. You know, obviously winning helps, but you know, even if that doesn't happen, these guys come out and play very hard each and every week and represent DeKalb and DeKalb High School very, very well.
Well, and I know one school district that's not celebrating that.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Nice job, Mike.
Keep it up, Mike. I told you.
Thanks for bringing the trophy, Tom.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tom.
All right, I'll go. Thanks. Yeah, Mark. Coach. Yeah. Well, these guys already heard the story, but now that they're gone, last night the freshmen scored 4 touchdowns in 1 minute. So they've got to live up to. Yeah, they're having, I mean, it's worth noting because there's been a lot of years where it hasn't been this way, and we appreciate the efforts of all of them and all of you that are supporting. All right, next. The acceptance of gifts and donations. The Board of Education accepts with gratitude the donation of $10,000 to the Ag Department at DeKalb High School from the Monsanto Farmers Grow Rural Education Grant to purchase 29 Chromebook laptops for class use. Thank you. Thank you. Vicki, do you have anything you want to say about this?
Yeah, actually, is Mrs. Peterson here?
Is she here?
Sarah's not here? Okay, so, the deal with this is that, the Ag Department and the Career Tech Ed Department, applied for the grant, but the way that they get it is to have area farmers, nominate them. So, according to the information, I have 25 area farmers nominated the school district. To get this grant, she's using it so that the kids in FFA can do their appropriate paperwork, because that is a judged process in FFA. And then she's going to share those across the CCD department for plant and animal science use as well. So it's a big deal. You know, Monsanto gives out like 5 or 6 of these statewide. There's one $25,000 one we didn't get, but a $10,000 one we did get. So
Well done.
finally,
And we thank you
for the FFA.
and all the other farmers that contributed by writing Monsanto and so on. That's still a faction of this community that gets smaller and smaller, and quieter, but they're still very active and very supportive of the FFA. Okay, so roll call, please, Vicki.
Juan Barnes,
Yes.
Ian Fontana,
Yes.
Vicky Gardner Faber,
Yes.
Mary Hess,
Yes.
Tom Tia,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Tracy Williams.
Yes. Next, public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak to the board shall complete a request card prior to the meeting, and this section of the meeting will be reserved for comments from the public. All comments should be limited to 3 minutes, and criticism of individuals is not in order. We have one card this evening, Ms. D. Hoover.
Where do people stand?
Wherever you like, wherever you're comfortable with. Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to say, I'm one of the parents who went to every football game for 12 years. I don't believe that there were nights that there was a point scored. So this is many foul years of painful football. Anyway, I'm Dee Cooper, director of the DeKalb Public Library, and I'm here to thank the school district for the big read. But I have a specific thank you, but I want to just give a little feedback. The Big Read is the largest literacy effort ever funded by the federal government, ever. And there have been 8 years. The DeKalb Public Library has won this very competitive grant 8 years in a row. There are only 3 libraries in the nation who can make that claim. One of the reasons, I'm sure, is we have a very stable steering committee, of which District 428 is part of it. Over those 8 years, we've given out 37,000 free books. We've raised $150,000 to match the federal government's $150,000. And this year, we had our very first Fan Fest at the high school. And we thank the high school for the use of the auditorium and the lobby. It's a young adult book that you've never heard of. And I'm going to tell you what it does. Before I give out copies, in the late 60s, a woman named Ursula Le Guin wrote a book, 6 books, about a young boy who wanted to go to wizarding school. And each year, the book progresses 1 year at a time. Is this a familiar plot? Miss Le Guin did not make $1 zillion. But this is the beginning, according to our teen librarian, of all fantasy, all young adult, all the whole 9 yards. So we're reading A Wizard of Earthsea this year, and we have a whole month of activities. So that's it for me. Thank you. I have 24 copies for the lucky 24%. Oh,
All right, volunteers.
so if you all pass out, thank you very much. I want to go.
I just want to say, Dee, I think on behalf of the board, we want to thank you for all you're doing with the library expansion, all the work you put into that. I mean, it's just a wonderful thing for our students and for our community. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Tom, and just to say a little bit about that. When we applied for the grant that we got from the state of Illinois for $11.6 million.
You're a nerd, of course.
More than the state of Illinois has ever given a library in the history of Illinois. We think of it, and it's because of what we as a community has done. We have a new high school. We have a new we have a new police station. We have incredible amounts of effort locally. With this community really supports literacy in all of its areas, and that's what we're building on. Now we need the library. We've got the library construction or something.
It's probably nice to not have to have a hard hat on it sometimes.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. A hard hat. And once a week they have the site visit with architects. But so far, I can tell you I'm on a fair weather friend, and I don't go over hill and dale. Foundations were laid today, so that is truly a remarkable accomplishment.
Thank you, Dee. Thank you very much. Now, I'm not going to make the mistake I usually make. Board committee reports and correspondence. I caught it. Anybody? Yes, Mary.
I just want to let you know that on Monday, we submitted a grant, we named the school district in partnership with NIU and the YMCA as primary partners, submitted a grant to the Illinois Department of Human Services for about $340,000.
$429,000.
Sorry, $429,000 to start a after-school program for middle school students, where would all be housed at Huntley, and it includes transportation, so we could get Clinton Rosette students there, and then get all the students home after. It would include academic support, different recreation and sports, cultural activities, a parent involvement component, life skills, nutrition. It would have a healthy snack every day, and service learning. So we quickly assembled a team because we had about 3 weeks to write the grant when we found out about it, and there was only 4 weeks notice in total from DHS. So we submitted it yesterday, and are hopeful that it'll come through.
When will you hear?
Yeah, if they wanted to start November 1st, so it was due October 6th, and wanted to start November 1st.
Wow.
Good stuff.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. Anyone else? No? Well, some of you may have seen a blurb in the paper. I know Katie covered this, but there was a grant issued to the Dell Police Department. Yes. And we're going to diligently work to accomplish some additional school resource officer availability because of this grant, and that by itself isn't enough, but we'll look into our financial plan and see if there's in some way we can participate, because it's a wonderful opportunity there. Okay, nothing else, we'll move on. The presentation tonight, DHS weighted grade courses, an update by Ms. Rubner.
And I did not bring PowerPoint, I know I sent you the list of weighted grades, and I also have, I brought some handouts just so you could see what our rigor scale and what our feedback form looks like. As you recall, last year we approved the honors classes that are offered at DHS for honors weighted credit. So with that started this year. So what we did is we took the current honors classes that were in our curriculum course guide and we weighted those honors classes. But then we looked at the AP College Board rigor scale and we looked at our current honors courses and came up with this rigor scale. So if you see that on one side, it's a rigor scale of what we look for when we get the proposals. So I handed you the rigor scale, and I believe I handed you a copy of one of the proposals that came in, so you could just see what it looks like. Since we started the weighted grades this year, we had several course proposals to have weighted credits. Those included our current Spanish 3 and Spanish 4, and our French 3 and our French 4 courses. So what we did is we looked at the rigor scale. The department proposed the course to be weighted honors because of the fact that it did have the rigor that we require for an honors level class. And then we looked at other models that other districts were doing with their language 3-4 classes. And we modeled the 214 honor scale that they do with their foreign language 3 and 4. Because once a student gets to that level, the rigor is just incredible. When they went through what they were doing, and I know Dr. Lofthouse helped the Spanish teachers put their proposal and really define what their rigor looked like. The first time around, we had some more questions, so then they came back and answered our questions. And then we gave them feedback of what we would like to see in their pilot year, which will be next year. So next year, any classes that came in as a proposed honors weighted class will be weighted at that 0.5 honors next year, and those include those 4 world language classes. Now, the other courses that were approved were the pre-calc trig. We have a pre-calc trig, but we do not have an honors pre-calc trig. We have an honors geometry, we have an honors algebra 2, and then we go right into pre-calc trig, and we don't have an honors level. So the math department had to make a decision if they wanted to. They took a look at their current pre-calc trig, and they couldn't justify the honors weighted. They felt that it needed even more rigor than it currently had. So they proposed the second pre-calc trig as an honors weighted. So it's got a little more rigor than the regular pre-calc trig class. So that one was also approved for honors credit. And then lastly is a music theory, the class that Steve Lundeen proposed. You'll see that one is the honors music performance. So really this is, in order for the students to get to this level of music, they have to have been in music freshmen and sophomores. So this is only open to juniors and seniors. And then there's some additional support that they have to have for this course in order to get honors weighted. So not everybody in the performance class will get the honors, but the students that choose to and they do the additional work will be awarded the honors credit. So we're very excited because now people are looking at their courses and wanting to increase the rigor of the class for our students. And it's offering more higher level classes for our students. So I just handed out the proposal, what that looked like, so you would see what they have to submit, and then the rigor scale, and then on the back of the rigor scale, just kind of a feedback form that we have a weighted grade committee now to look at the proposals, which is an extension of BLT. However, we are going to revisit our committee and just try to improve it, just because it's complicated when you make a decision to weight a class like that. We want to make sure we're doing it right.
Thank you, Tamara. Any questions, comments? I would just like to say thank you, and here's why. And I mean, this is just a continuation of what we just saw. You're offering many more opportunities with incentive to participate. Prior to the weighting of grades, there was no reason for many kids to do the extra work because it wasn't reflected in the GPAs and so on. Now, we are offering more opportunities. You're weighting the grade so that extra effort is recognized appropriately. We're doing so at a time when many other school districts are forced to cut back or reduce these sorts of offerings. When you couple that with what we've done with the rewriting of the math curriculum over the last few years, and now doubling down on math minutes in the junior high, and the few junior high teachers I've spoken with are very pleased with that. I think that, along with what we just saw here in the extracurricular area, shows what a great path you're on. So thank you, Tamara. This is well done.
And next year I'll come back and give you some numbers of how many kids enroll in the honors classes, because I think this is the first year. I think next year the word's going to start getting out and their promotion. So we'll compare how many students took honors rated classes in 2013 compared to 2015. I think that I can tell.
I agree.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, next, non-business consent agenda. It's been recommended that the Board of Education approve the non-business consent agenda items A through D. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please, Vicki.
Rita Fontana?
Yes.
Vicki Herman Favor?
Yes.
Mary Hess?
Yes.
Juan Mattia?
Yes.
Victoria Newport?
Yes.
Tracy Williams?
Yes.
Colin Barnes?
Yes.
And then just to follow up on that last comment, we just approved an overnight orchestra field trip and also an overnight FFA field trip, again offering a lot of really neat opportunities for kids at a time when, I mean, we're fortunate to be able to do so. Business consent agenda. It's been recommended that the Board of Education approve business consent agenda items A and B. Thank you.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Vicki?
Vicki Herman Favor?
Yes.
Mary Hess?
Yes.
Juan Mattia?
Yes.
Victoria Newport?
Yes.
Tracy Williams?
Yes.
Colin Barnes?
Yes.
Rita Fontana?
Yes.
Okay, business and finance. It's been recommended that the Board of Education approve the hiring of an additional 3.5 staff members at Huntley Middle School. The increase of 2 part-time office professionals, 1 at each building at Cortland and Founders, to full-time positions, and the addition of 2 staff members in our technology department for a cost of $369,300. Do I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Discussion? Vicki?
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, sorry,
No, I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
just absorbing it. So the motion is to approve all the recommendations here, which is 3.5 additional teaching FTE, the 2 office professionals going from part-time to full-time, correct? And then 3 would be the additional technicians. Correct. That's what's before us. For me, I would have liked to have seen these as individual items, because the 3.5 additional teaching FTE, and we've got to increase enrollment, so we've got to meet that particular need. That one to me is easily understandable, and I get my head around it. As well as request number 2. Request number 3, though, the additional technicians, it just seems like there's a lot of questions there on need, what we need to do going forward, that I haven't had enough time to get my head around. And part of that is I missed the meeting that we had before where I'm assuming you guys reviewed it. My only concern is we're approving, what is that, 3, 4, 5, almost what, 6 to 7 FTE in total. It's just a lot. With the budget deficit that we have. Some of this, like I said, teachers, I understand. The rest of it, especially when it came to the technicians, I don't know, I would like to have more discussion on it, rather than just approving this is all one percent. That's my comment.
Andrew, do you care to address any of this?
Well, we do have it out in 3 separate pieces when we discussed it last week, or last meeting, so I'm sorry you weren't here at the time. And we did have some questions on that, and I think you received some further documentation, which is on the board docs to support. Both Jim and myself met with Ben and Brian to go through exactly what are the differences from where we were actually pre-referendum to where we are now, with all the devices that have been rolled out and everything, like we said, virtually that you touch now has some type of software embedded. And even though we may use a third-party service provider for copiers and such, they still call upon our people here when there's repairs needed, as far as verifying that the software is embedded correctly or that everything is working properly. And it takes all the time of these people to have those things up and running. And so they actually itemized out for us the cameras and all the various things that they touch on a day-to-day basis. And we certainly know we really have not grown the original budget as far as replacements and things like that for the past 4 years. We have been able to add equipment, fortunately, because of the grant money that came our way through the, actually it came from the state, but through the federal government to us. And then with the building of the new buildings, we were able to capture some new equipment that way when we constructed Cortland and we repurposed the other buildings and built the high school. So, but any additional information, the guys are here to answer your questions.
So I mean, I have an understanding of the amount of work that these guys are faced with everything we've got going on. The one-to-one implementation with the 8th grades, Lincoln, and most of them. And part of that is we hired 2 additional technicians for that department. We hired instructional coaches, which have been helping out from that perspective. But one thing that was pointed out is the additional burden that's been put on the tech support department from Skyward, user management, commission management, whatever all the details is behind that. Additional security cameras that we've implemented, which is causing more people to have to maintain care and feeding of. The only thing I'm concerned about is, are we looking at it from the perspective of we're adding more stuff to these guys' plates that maybe we could distribute elsewhere throughout the district? Maybe Skyward user maintenance could be done from an admin level. When we bring on more cameras and more technology, more security, are we looking at it holistically like we did with one-to-one and bringing on 2 additional FTEs for the department to support an initiative that the board approved? There's other things and other decisions that are being made in the district that is putting a burden on them that ultimately is requiring more FTEs to get hired. And my own concern is we have a deficit budget, and I'm just wondering if looking at ways we can reduce the burden that's on these guys. We don't have to hire them, and if it means reducing cameras, reducing some of those things, I'd like to have conversations about that. So that was my concern, seeing that.
One question I had too is, back 3-4 years ago, you had student help. There was 4 students, and that's gone down to 1 now. Is that something we can go back to, using students and help pull some of that burden off the
And
department?
we have those spots available, just with the one-to-one and just the process of going through. We didn't feel comfortable bringing them on and sending them out to help teachers without, typically it's a gradual process with them, and they're shadowing some of the guys for a while before they're able to go out and, start doing some of the 10 hours a week sort of thing that they typically work. But we do have those 3 current spots open that are designed for the high school students, and we're hoping to shortly bring some of those guys on at minimum wage. But still, a body's a body to get things moved around.
Right. And could they help with some of the lower level, or take some of that burden off of your department?
More of the, I don't want to call it FaceTime, but more of the working with the teachers individually sort of thing. They're not going to jump in and try and do any of the security stuff with this guy where there's checks and balances we have to protect against that.
Okay, Brian, do you still have the teachers in the buildings who are tech reps, who get the They wear the orange sheets?
They do get a stipend. You know, I talked to somebody at one of the grade schools. She gets paid about $100 a month. So it's just one of those things. She's not, you know, it's different at every building, different comfort levels or desires for the people that are those tech reps. I know we've been working with the curriculum department on some of the things as far as what their responsibilities are, because again, it is different for everybody that's involved. Some really just want to help out with web stuff. Some want to grab, get in there and take things apart. And others are, you know, okay, great. You've given me this sheet. I've put it into the help desk system. You know, it's
Yeah,
in
no,
texting.
I'm
Yeah.
not questioning the use of them
Mhm.
at all, but I'm just remembering, and this was 5 years ago, you know, those people were run off their feet. They were teaching as well as trying to solve technical issues in the building. And we all know I'm not a tech person, but boy, you need those people, you really do. And if we're going to have the increased technology in the district, I don't see how we cannot have enough tech support. And if one of the positions is determining priority within a building, what needs, everyone thinks their thing needs to get handled first. And it's really hard, but you know, if something doesn't work, you know, you're stymied right there. So I have no problem with those additions at all. I think they're really needed.
What has also happened is a lot of these things have become centrally managed. So whether it's entire, like all the computer labs at the high school are centrally managed through Citrix. All the copying systems are centrally managed. So all these things have become mission critical, but are centrally managed. So it's also become sort of one of these things where when we have an outage, we're having major outages. Because if you have one of those things go wrong, you have like all the labs are down, all the copiers are down. I mean, big problems. So what we're having issues with is while we're trying to resolve a potential major issue on a day-to-day basis or preemptively, you know, solve one of these issues, we're having all these minor issues that are building up. So things like Skyward Security or setting up a user with the correct security rights within Active Directory or things like that, we can't give to an hourly person. We can't give them administrative access because you're opening up a giant can of worms. Things like our Skyward system is full of things like social security numbers. We don't want to give that to an outsourced person and say, we're going to trust you're going to do the right thing, even though we don't know you, we don't know that you have a vested interest. So it's one of these things where we need to have somebody who has a vested interest in the district that can basically handle some of these more minor issues, so that way the larger issues can be maintained as quickly and as efficiently as possible, while we still maintain coverage for the rest of the district. So that way things like PAR forms that come through for new hires and things like that get taken care of as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, storage issues are being taken care of by the people who need to take care of them. And it's not, oh, let me put you on hold, you know, NetApp while I go sub security. It's become kind of a burden for the staff to try to decipher which issue is the biggest issue to take care of, while you have all these pending minor issues that are just sort of building up. So by the time you get to one of these minor issues 48 hours later, everybody is very stressed out that you didn't get to it immediately. So there is a staffing concern with being able to keep the district moving along as quickly and as efficiently as possible.
But even as, I mean, the last definition yesterday, I mean, the conversation and the feedback is you guys are doing a great job. I mean, there's a noticeable difference between what technology used to be like in the district a year or two ago to what it is now, which is very commendable for you guys, as well as the initiatives that the board has passed itself. You're doing a wonderful job. I'm worried that we keep making decisions, we keep putting stuff on you guys, and now we're, let's call it surprised by we got to hire 2 more FTEs. That's adding 4 more FTEs to your department in a 12-month period. And I'm just concerned, again, it's the budget. I'm just coming at it from that perspective. I mean, I feel for these guys. I can't believe I'm the one saying, we should question hiring more technicians, but it's $100,000 a year here. The other ones on here, I don't see, I mean, we have to provide a teacher for kids that are in class.
We did talk about this quite a bit at the last meeting, and I brought the same questions to you. Challenge them about contracting it out. The one thing that I The one thing I'd like to see, because with any technology thing, when you're not the technology guy, it just seems like there's always more and there's always more. But what I challenge you guys with, and I haven't seen it in here yet, is somehow if we develop some type of metrics, some type of measurement for how more effective we are, so that if we go along with this after 6 months, we can say, okay, that was a good investment on our dollar, or do we need to do like, Cohen's made a suggestion, maybe we need to pull back on some of our initiatives. But I really think, and I know it's difficult, but is there any way that you guys can document and show how, by adding these new employees, you're gonna be more, whether it's employee satisfaction, whether it's quickness to respond to troubleshooting, somehow, I think, bring something back to us and say, this was a good investment, okay? Because otherwise, it's just like a continual, we need 2 more, we need 2 more, we need 2 more. So I don't know if that's possible, but that's my challenge to you, because I would support this, but only on a temporary basis until something can come back and say, hey, this made a big difference. And that's from administrators, that's from our principals, that's from our teachers, and everyone in the district.
To somewhat counter that, one of the things that we could start doing is a simple follow-up in a survey, whether it's a survey or, just follow-up email. The problem is we don't have anybody to do that. No, so I mean, I do get it, and when you look at our tickets,
It's chicken and egg.
we're covering almost 3 times as many tickets this year as we have last year. Cohen and I talked about that. Some of that is over the last couple of years, we've been really pushing for people to email help desk rather than calling, rather than, submitting a random email to whomever, submit it right to the help desk. That way there's follow-up and there's things like that to go through. And, like we had a discussion earlier today and someone brought up, hey, well, I've got X number of systems in my building that aren't working right now. Brought it up, well, there's no tickets for it. What? Okay, so, they're going to go back and they're going to take a look and address those and get the information to us. I do understand, part of it, we have lost somebody in the department that did a lot of that security management. They were just transferred to another department and those roles didn't follow. They just became, the rest of us in technology became our responsibility. So we're just trying to.
But on Cohen's point, I mean, surveys or ticket documentation, that can be done by a non-tech person. I mean, if you set up the process in which it's done, Vicky, she'd be glad to do it, I'm sure.
And, but to that,
I just raised my hand.
to that end, the pay level that they're at for a 12-month employee is really the same, is very similar to what we're paying our, is it FNAS, the secretarial union? It's very similar to what they're getting paid over the same amount of time.
Any other questions or comments?
With that being said, will you come back to the board and be able to tell us how effective this was and how it made a difference at the end of the school year?
Yes.
Yeah, that's our hope, is that we actually have, ways to show analytically, statistically, that yes, there's an improvement.
My one question is, how long does this contract run? So if you hire these 2 folks, how long is that contract good for?
Same amount of time as mine would be, or anybody else in the 12-month time. Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, and is there a 30-month out or 30-day out, excuse me?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we have a motion. We have a second. If there's a consensus to go ahead and vote, we will. If there's a so I'll ask, is there a consensus to go ahead and take this vote?
Or Cohen can move that we eliminate one part of it and see if it's a second.
Or we could do that.
I don't know how, I think that's Dr. Roberts' rules of order.
Sound right?
So this is the time to do that? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would make a motion that we modify the motion that's before us to include request number 1, request number 2, Request number 3, I would like further analyzed and brought before the board at a later date. That would be the motion I would.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, close?
Yes.
Okay.
Suggestion.
Okay. So, now what is Robert's Rule of Order?
We go on
Or discussion.
our discussion on this as we go on.
Okay.
Would you clarify your motion for me? The amended
Ultimately, I want
motion?
to pull out request number 3 to hire the 2 technicians, and almost my main motivation when it comes down to it is our budget. We budgeted for 2 technicians, we hired 2 technicians. This is increasing our budget midway through, and that just, I don't think I have enough information to decide on that. So I'm pulling, my motion is to pull number 3, go forward with request number 1 and 2.
All right, so I would ask you, Cohen, then would you commit to working with Brian over the next few weeks so that you could bring an alternative back or revisit this? We won't
For sure.
do away with it. We'll postpone this component tonight and wait for what.
We have to vote on it.
You have to vote on it. If we vote.
They could vote down
We
my
have a
motion.
motion.
So which one are we voting for?
Mine
Can
first.
we accept this and would you accept that? And go back to the original?
Okay.
Which is all 3.
Okay, so for clarification, we're gonna vote on Cohen's amended motion
Take it out.
to remove the third component, which is the 2 tech tax.
Yes.
Temporary.
Roll call, please, Vicky.
Yeah, I want to make sure I understand
Yeah.
that. So it's temporarily, and
Yes.
what we're asking is for them to come back at the next board meeting?
That's
Well, no, that's not in the
part of
motion. That's not.
We're just
So we can do that so easily. I mean, that's just, Tracy can put it on the agenda for the next board meeting or the board meeting.
Okay, but right now, we're voting on this without the third component.
Until further
We're going to
notice.
take that component
That's
off right now.
all it is.
Mhm.
For
We
right
take out
now,
the request
and
number.
leave her off. May come back later.
Do we want to amend that to make sure it comes back later? I don't mean to be silly.
No, because you can control the agenda, so you can put it right back on.
All right,
And I'm telling you, I'm gonna commit to that.
okay.
We don't think we need to have a motion and all that.
Okay, so is there any question on what we're voting on? Because I've not made this easy for you, I'm sorry, this is,
I know exactly.
yeah, okay. All right, Vicky, roll call, please.
Mary Hess,
Yes.
Tom Mattia,
No.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Tracy Williams,
No.
Cohen Barnes,
Yes?
Nina Fontana,
Yes.
Vicky Hearn in favor.
No.
All right, so it's 4-3,
Yes.
it passes, so we'll revisit it in the next agenda.
And we'll talk with Brian and figure out how quickly we can get together, get that information for the board, and if we need to act, we'll act on this.
Mr. President, so then I move that we approve steps 1 and 2 of the original motion. That we do hire the other 2 positions, the 3.5 FTEs, and
We didn't do that?
No, we just approved pulling the third one out.
we just approved pulling.
Excuse me?
No, I thought you said to approve 1 and 2.
Yeah, we did.
That's fine.
I thought it was just taken, I just thought it was taken out.
If she's saying we're good, then we're good.
No, that's what I heard, Vicky, that we were approving 1 and 2.
Until further analysis.
She voted no, she didn't.
I'm
Wait.
sorry.
We're all clear? So,
We approved 1 and 2.
Correct.
I voted through them.
Correct.
Tabled the third one.
Correct.
we'll bring that back. I'm committing, we'll bring it back on the agenda.
That gets confusing, I apologize, but, no, Ed, but I heard what you heard, so we were voting on the first 2 without the third.
Yes.
Okay. Bright Point tax abatement, Andrew Crowe, this is an information item.
So at the end of September, we had brought to the board for you to extend the existing intergovernmental tax abatement through December of 2015. So under that existing agreement, Bright Point corporation qualifies for the abatement. They are done with their expansion. They have hired their employees, and they are now up and fully running and functioning since 2013. So what is in front of you tonight is that just as an information item, the next meeting will be an action item, that they will be approved to move forward under the intergovernmental agreement for their abatements. Now, I want to remind you, this is a 5-year agreement that they have their tax money back. However, through the general state aid formula, whatever gets lost gets factored in there, although it's a 2-year delay back to us. And because of the proration of general state aid, we don't quite recoup all of that money. But nonetheless, that's a full picture of how these abatements work. So it's just as information, we'll need you to pass that at the next meeting, and then they start their abatement with the next tax year, the tax levy, 2014. Simple enough?
This was exactly what they went into building the building. They knew
Correct.
this is just honoring the original.
Yes. Yes.
In a nutshell, this is us living up to our end of the agreement.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Andrew.
You're welcome.
All right, backup snow removal contract renewal. Tammy Carson, information item.
As we're getting into that time of year where we have to start planning for snow removal. And one of those things is that since 2012, we have managed snow removal services strictly in-house. Our staff has the equipment and staffing to be able to clear our parking lots and our sidewalks properly as needed. But we did go out in 2012 to bid out for contractors to provide backup services. Should we be in an extreme emergency that we are unable to clear our parking lots and sidewalks properly, or for whatever reason, equipment failure or whatever that need is. And at that time, the contract that was signed and agreed to in the bid results called for the option for us to renew 3 years without going out to bid again. And we have done that since 2012, and I'm just moving forward recommending that we do it again for this coming year. I will say the last two or 3 years, we have not contracted for any backup services whatsoever. But it's always there just as a safety net.
Well, if you got through last year without it, it's well done. All I said was it was well done. I didn't say.
Is there cost associated with having them on backup?
No, none whatsoever. It's just a contract that we renewed for another year.
Any questions or comments? All right, thanks, Tammy. Next, a request to bid district heating and air conditioning improvements information item. Tammy?
We are starting to plan for summer projects for 2015, and one of those large projects that we're looking at is HVAC improvements throughout the district, prioritizing where the needs are, and then preparing to go out to bid. So today I'm bringing information regarding a request to bid for HVAC projects that would actually span across 3 different buildings, but would be bid out at one time, 3 different base bids, and several alternatives should we approve all of that. The reason for that, it gives us many options to approve or deny the bid results based on the dollar amounts that are bid forward and budget constraints. So today, the first one I'm bringing forward is the Jefferson boiler, replacement of the Jefferson boiler. That boiler is 57 years old. The expected life is 25 to 30 years for that equipment. And at that age, we get about 50% efficiency and 50% chance that the boiler or the system will fail. So we're way beyond our life expectancy, which we do know that on a couple of our other buildings too. It is a steam boiler system, so again, there's other inefficiencies that go with the steam boiler. So what I'm proposing is just like we did at Little John last year, as we go out to bid to replace the boiler system, as well as add a chiller to the building, which would add air conditioning to the building as it did at our Little John school building. There are currently DECO rebates that are still being offered in this type of program. We were able to redeem over $29,000 in DECO rebates just for the Little John boiler system. So we're hoping that and expecting that that program will continue into the 15-16 year, and we'll be able to apply for those same type of rebates on the same and expect the same type of rebate back on the Jefferson boiler. The next, yes.
Do we expect there to be asbestos complications?
With this boiler system at this time, we don't believe so. We're not, it would all be above ceiling. We wouldn't do anything in the flooring, and that's for the flooring. The issues at Jefferson are in flooring when it comes to asbestos in ceiling.
Repairs we did to Lincoln, how did they not apply to what, like, could we do the same thing to Jefferson? Because you mentioned in here, if I'm right, Lincoln, we did some repairs that
Yes.
extended life.
Oh, yes, and the only reason we did those repairs at Lincoln is because our, the tubes were leaking. So we had to, and I'm gonna refer to my notes here. Yes, we had to update several, or replace a lot of the tubes, which extend the life of it, more or less as my maintenance staff are saying, that do the HVAC part. That basically added a whole nother life to this boiler system. So when we were comparing, do we do Jefferson or do we propose Lincoln? And because of the required maintenance we've had at Jefferson versus Lincoln's required maintenance, and the changes we've recently made to the Lincoln boiler, hands down, my staff, the engineers involved, and the architect are recommending that we move forward with Jefferson before Lincoln. Both of them are approximately the same cost estimate, same age. And if you remember one thing with the Jefferson, I should note, FFAC, which will be meeting later in October, next week, we'll be revisiting, because their proposal was that they had set aside $2.5 million for HVAC improvements out of the construction grant. $1 million of that was used for the Little John boiler, and now we would be looking to use $500,000 of the FFAC construction grant towards the Jefferson boiler replacement, and the other $500,000 will come from our life safety budget. We'll have $500,000 in that budget as of July 1st of next year, so we would propose using life safety money for that purpose. So none of the funding based on the projected budgets would come out of O&M.
Okay. The 500,000 out of the health and life safety budget, is that 500,000 setting aside each year, right? Could we not use 500,000 in the concession grant, hold off one more year and have $1 million to be able to do the Jefferson boiler replacement?
The life safety, my understanding, and Andrea can correct me if I'm wrong, needs to be used every year. So that $500,000, in the past couple of years, we've used it for roof replacements. And in analyzing which is more important at this time, we feel that the boiler needs to have a focus this year versus any of our roof repairs and replacements. The construction grant, yes, that can sit, that $500,000 can sit as long as we choose, I believe, but
this is a use it or lose it.
that $500,000, we would need to use it on some project and determine this is our highest need.
That's actually restricted dollars. It could only be used on a project for looking.
I understand.
Can that be financed, Andrew? Could the boiler be financed to leave the cash in the grant fund and pay for the boiler over 2 years? So you use the 500,000 this year and then the remainder in the second year?
We would have to go out and see if the bank would be willing to do that.
I think that'd be worth looking into.
With as much as we've got in our fund balance.
Yeah.
We're a good credit risk at this point. But you're right, you could fund the 500,000 out of life safety now, so we use that money. Next year, we do the 500,000 again out of life safety, is what you're saying, right? Yeah.
And with today's proposal, today is just a request to bid, so we would have some time to investigate those
Sure,
options, because
sure.
the bid results are not gonna come back in front of you till earliest will be January, because it takes that long for design. And then bid process probably honestly be more like a February bid opening.
So if we finance it over 2 years and you know that Lincoln's boiler is next up on the list perhaps, how long are you thinking that Lincoln's boiler is going to last?
Well, I don't have that crystal ball. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
nobody
and
does.
our Lincoln
Yes.
and our Malta boilers are our two oldest boilers now in the district. Malta is a hot water, Lincoln is a steam. My hopes, we can make it 2 more summers, so 2017 is when I'm projecting at this time, I would come back in front of you in regards to replacing the Lincoln boiler.
It's a great idea, though, Jason.
Well, cash is king, right? So it's hard to, we want those fund balances to be maintained if possible. And the beauty of it is though, even if you did that, you would have a fund balance in reserve in the event you needed it at Lincoln.
Right.
On some disastrous level, right? Yeah, Mary.
But jumping ahead, aren't you proposing the other project?
I have
that
2
you
other
use
HVAC projects.
The operations and maintenance money from the year you're saying you pay off? Second.
Yeah, but this kind of goes to what Cole was saying. Now, look, we have time, so yeah, go get the bid.
Sure.
And we'll continue this discussion as to how best to treat it.
Right.
But it goes to the earlier question, which is, are we at a point where we have to defer things or whatever? But we have time to discuss that, and you're looking for the opportunity to go out for bid, and tonight was information item only.
And that's the information on Jefferson. I have 2 other buildings. The next one on the list is Founders Elementary. Founders Elementary is actually, they have a hot water boiler system, and it was installed in a 2-pipe system, which is what we install in the new boilers now. So what I'm proposing is to go out to bid to add a chiller to Founders, which would be the addition of air conditioning at Founders. And in one section of the building is, in fact, I can show you. In one section of the building would be to add a rooftop unit. This is Jefferson. The pink is where there is already air conditioning. The green is where it's proposed that we would be adding air conditioning. And then the small orange box in the corner that's lighter color, that would not have air conditioning. This. Founders Elementary currently has air conditioning in the pink areas. Those are rooftop units that are being used. We'd be looking to add it to the green areas, which would be the remaining classrooms in the building for second and the lower level. And then the gymnasiums and the offices and kitchen area around there would not have air conditioning. The rooftop unit would be used for these classrooms that are 116 through 120. The 2-pipe system that was not piped over to that side of the building for some reason. It stopped at the media center. So it's more cost effective to put a rooftop on that section than to try to pipe the boiler over to that area. For this project, the estimated cost for those areas, which again would finish out the classrooms and some courtrooms in the green, is an estimated project cost of $357,000. That is contract plus contingency and engineering and architectural fees. That's all in the $357,000. No asbestos is anticipated in this building whatsoever. And then this would be funded out of the operations and maintenance budget of 14-15 as well as 15-16, since we have an overlap next summer.
Thinking of the equity issue amongst the schools, I'm just curious why Founders, we would air condition the kitchen, but what is it, Huntley, we decided not to.
Well, actually,
Or is it the other way around?
Other
The other way around, yeah.
Well, I'm not saying not to at Huntley. That's one of the things that I'm recommending we go out for bid on is the kitchen. But at this time, the kitchen, as of today, the kitchen at Huntley is not air conditioned. For Founders to air condition that section that is in light color, the gyms and the kitchens, we're looking at about another $330,000 added to this project. I may be able to drop a rooftop unit on there for a cost of probably close to what the Huntley's coming with is anticipated, which is another 83.6, I call it 100,000. So we would be increasing our costs significantly. Founders is not a production kitchen. It's a satellite location, so they don't have the ovens and things running such as our Huntley kitchen does, where they're producing for schools.
They're satelliting 3 schools besides taking care of their own.
That's what I was more curious about, the decision-making process on why we chose one over the other.
The production versus satellite is the
Currently
key.
with all the ovens and everything going there, really horrible working conditions for those folks.
Any questions on Founders? All right. right, my next one is Huntley Middle School. If you remember last spring, we actually bid out several air conditioning projects at Huntley Middle School, but one of them, we ended up having a no bid, and that was for those classrooms in the new wing, which is the old science wing, which is where partially the ELDC program is housed, and then the second floor houses, I believe it's 7th grade classes, if I'm remembering correctly. Because of the bids that came in only one subcontractor bid that HVAC projects on this bid, and then pulled their bid result because they forgot a zero in their proposal. So, and there wasn't time at that point to rebid the project, so we just removed it from the proposal. At this time, so the main crux of this proposal was to get the remaining classrooms air conditioned at Huntley Middle School. And that's the green over to your left that you see. At the same time, since we will have the engineer in there and architect working on this, I'm recommending that we also get design and bid out the media center, the pool lobby, the kitchen, serving area, and then second floor of administration, the old admin area. It's odd how this building is broken out. That's why we did this. This small section here is now housing staff members in the old admin. I think it was support services when the high school was there, the left side. The left side doesn't have air. The right side does in that same section. Why, I could tell you, but that's what's included in there. I will say this, the remaining classroom quote of $416,500 per project cost. When we originally budgeted for this before the last bid, we actually budgeted closer to $250,000 for this project versus $416,000 based on the engineer's proposal. But we're a little leery because the results that came in on the bid last year were closer to $400,000. So that being said, I'm projecting high based on those bid results. We don't know if that's because it was late in the bidding season that number came in and because there was only one bidder. We're not really certain, but the true anticipated budget really comes in closer to $250,000 for those remaining classrooms. And that would be contingency architect engineering fees. So again, I'm just requesting going out for this. I will say add this, if the pool lobby is thrown in there, you might be going, well, why do you want to do the pool lobby in these other areas? The YMCA has their wellness center, the Barb City Wellness Center is in the pool lobby. And they asked if we're out to bid on this project to get a cost for that because they potentially would be paying that cost. That would not be coming out of district funds. So we're bidding it out to see what that would be. And then they would consider funding that portion. But as you know, the orange sections that I have up here, even if all of this is approved, will still not be air conditioned at Huntley Middle School. And that includes the commons, the auditorium, the custodial area, the swimming pool, everything up there. And then again, the space over that, which includes the mat room, locker rooms, weight room.
No reason to cool the mat room.
Danny, as long as we're talking about equity, excuse me, if the board would approve all these projects, primarily we'd have all the classrooms in these buildings air conditioned, correct?
That is correct.
Which schools would not have air conditioning?
Lincoln Elementary has no air conditioning whatsoever except in their modular unit. Malta Elementary has none in their classrooms. Their library has air conditioning. It's window units. That's right, window units. One window, but it's cooled that way. Other than that, we're pretty close to 100% when it comes to classrooms.
Okay.
Now, gymnasiums, whole other story.
Okay.
Most of the time, in the older days, you didn't cool gymnasiums.
I absolutely get it. I just don't, going around the buildings, even as late as we do start, some of those rooms in Jefferson, Lincoln were just unbearable.
And that's why I do have a plan for, with the boilers that need to be replaced, adding a chiller at the time of boiler replacement is the most cost-effective way to do that. And fingers crossed by 2019, We will be at 100% air conditioning in classroom spaces and support rooms in the district.
Ooh, that's a lot of summer
Just
want to put
But
that
there's
out
a
there.
plan now. There's actually a plan for this.
Tammy, you made a comment that currently, and I believe it was Jefferson, is roughly 50% efficient now. It's boiler capacity. And I'll come see you, or, you know, when you have time, could you maybe show operationally what those savings are annually with reduced efficiency as opposed to new? And maybe we can figure that into some of our payback schedule as well.
I can definitely bring that
Yeah.
with the bid results. If
Yeah.
this is approved, we can bring that information.
Because that would be helpful. I mean, if there's savings in the operations budget for utilities and so on, maybe we can account for that at least. Toward benefit. All right, so that was information.
One more question on that, if
Please.
that's all right. So before the goal was we were gonna do the remaining classrooms at Huntley, and then the bid got pulled, that all got scrapped. So the remaining classrooms part, the 416,000, is correcting an issue that happened last year. The other, the 219, the 59, the 83, the 71 is above what we were planning on doing last year.
That's correct.
Right, so, you know, having that focus of, okay, classrooms and making sure that when we're delivering instruction, it's the best environment possible, totally for it, bringing equity to all the schools for that, totally for it. You know, right now, again, to go back to our budget, I mean, if we didn't do some of these, are these restricted funds?
No.
Okay, so if we didn't do these, right, that potentially drops X amount into our budget that we're not gonna spend, or save from our grant money, or allows us to hire the 2 new techs, and then they'll talk to me again at some point in the future. That was supposed to be a joke, wow. But ultimately, do we really want to air condition and spend this kind of money, the 219, the 59, the 83, and the 71 at Huntley, or do we want to wait? I mean, I know we're going out for bid. I get it,
Yeah, I think we need to go out to bid, and I'm sure, Tammy, I might be wrong, it's probably more efficient instead of kind of cherry picking different spots within the building. It's probably more efficient with the bid if we get it all done at once, correct?
Absolutely, and the way I'll be designing this bid specific to the Huntley project is that will be a base bid, will be the remaining classrooms. And assuming the base bid is approved, the other 4 sections are going to be alternates. So we can pick and choose any or none of the alternates for those areas of the building. I will say, when the second floor, the old admin area, that was an area that we opened up at Huntley, and they do see students in that area. So that, you know, we do have that factor when you're talking about classrooms. That area was not intended at one point to be reopened to the extent it was, but now that it is, you know, we have to consider that students are being seen. There's therapy sessions that are going on in there, speech therapy and OT and PT, I believe, as well as vision impaired.
Social workers.
Social workers.
mainly what I was calling out is, you know, this will transpire, you go off for bid, we'll review it 4 months, 6 months from now. And we'll be reviewing, you know, what we talked about before, when we asked them to go out for bid, because this is what we were interested in seeing numbers on and doing. I think I just want to make sure that it doesn't all of a sudden just get rolled in and.
I don't think it's gonna get rolled in.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of different options we talked about. I mean, I think if we go out to bid, and we also spend some time in the next few months to do some financing, and then try to think of other ways in which maybe we can get some of these projects done without that. I mean, let's take the time to explore that, because this has been an ongoing issue in this district forever.
And in the next
We're one of the few districts in this area that still has this problem. I mean, it's
Largest.
it affects the learning environment as well. I mean, it's life.
And also in the next few months, I'll be bringing any other summer projects. This one takes the longest time, it needs the longest lead time for design. We're making decisions, and we'll be talking with the FFAC to identify what other summer projects, so we'll know what other funds will be potentially designated for other key projects. I don't expect anything to the extent of Tyler, obviously, but there are some things that will need to be bid out for the upcoming summer.
And Tammy, maybe you could get some input from Huntley about how much the media center is used. I mean, that is a large area there. And I know, you know, a number of classes go there and use, you know, computers, et cetera. So maybe if we found out the usage there, that would help
I
make a
can definitely work with the
decision.
administrators to put that together before the results come forward.
Vicky, you had your hand up.
Oh, I did, I just asked, if I'm remembering from last time I was in, probably on the west side, is where you're proposing to, and I am thinking that some of those classrooms have air conditioners in them.
Most of them have window air conditioners.
I'm sorry, yeah, window units, so if we go ahead and down the line someplace decide to put central air in, what happens to those window units? And can we, I mean, we've got two, can we use them someplace else?
Well, there's always the option of the buildings that are not air conditioned, if we want to look for ways to use them in those two remaining buildings. We have run into issues with the buildings that do have window air conditioners because the extent that they have to run, for example, in the nurse's office at Lincoln and the temperatures they have to maintain, we burn them out pretty quick.
Yeah.
And we don't, these aren't special commercial model, these are bought off the shelf at Lowe's, Menards, or wherever, and our guys install them with nice little plexiglass, so it looks like a window when it's really not. The option's always there to auction them or something, you know, once we, God forbid, go back and do another auction. We can always put it in.
All right, so do we have a consensus then to go ahead and, well, we don't, yeah, we'll bring it back.
Thank you.
See, now I'm all out of whack on I covered the committee reports and now it's screwed everything else up. Okay, next, the approval of new FTE bilingual English as a second language Arabic resource teacher at Jefferson Elementary, Jenny Huber and Amy Crook. An action item, it's been recommended that the Board of Education approve a 1.0 FTE bilingual ESL Arabic resource teacher for Jefferson Elementary. Do I have a motion?
Second.
All right, Amy.
That's great. We're up to 28 Arabic speakers and big increase for Jefferson Elementary. So this is keeping us in compliance with the state law and so our funding will be effective.
You know, I think we talked on this one other time, and I'm not
Last year.
for the moment implying that we do this. But what does happen if you don't comply with state law and something like this?
Well, I go to jail. Because that's what I'm hired for. No, we lose our funding. We get, through TPI funds, we get around $230,000. Liplets, we get around $86,000. IEP dollars are around $86,000. IEP is immigrant education program. So we lose quite a bit of funding. And I don't know what else, because I've never not.
Are we going to receive any additional funding for this?
Yeah.
We did receive additional funding this year, and it's called IEP funds. That's Immigrant Education Program funds, and that is when you have a certain number of kids who've been born in another country and been here fewer than 3 years. What was that, Christy? We just looked at it today. Was that around?
There were only 27
For your school, but
at my school. Oh,
district-wide, I want to say we had, it's like $68,000 something. It was a significant amount of money.
Oh, the
For
money.
53
I'm
kids.
sorry, I thought you were.
So
It won't offset this full FTE though, is that correct?
it was not, and it can't be used for FTE, not the IEP can't. It can be used for assistance, and we did put an assistant in that, like a tutor.
It's kind of peculiar, isn't it? We give you funding for this, but you can't use it for a teacher.
Right. You can use LibLabs, which is, it's only $86,000. You can use that one time for a new teacher employee. You can use it all the time for an instructional assistant. So we used that fund for an HSL who works at the high school. And that takes about a third of that budget to fund for the homeschool liaison there. That person will always stay in that budget.
These are from people, sorry. These are people from the Evergreen Village. Was that?
Oh, this is twofold. Okay, so we have several students from the Evergreen Village closed down. They only have ESL in Sycamore. The only school who has ESL only is Jefferson. The other two programs are developmental bilingual education. So the kids don't fit into those programs. And then we have additional, I don't know if you heard on NPR how NIU is handling low enrollment locally. They're bringing in international students, and with them come their children. So huge. We just had 3 more siblings of Arabic background register last week to qualify for ESL services.
I think what I'd like to see is a summary of the actual cost of this. And I think our next conversation with Dr. Baker perhaps should include this. And, you know, we can kind of itemize, because clearly.
Actually, we just did that, and an article is going to be published with all that information about it.
Okay, perfect. So
If you want specific to Jefferson only, we did that a couple of years ago, and we can break that down again.
yeah, I think it's a discussion that we need to have. Yes.
Right now, what NIU provides for those students is 50 hours of tutoring outside of school, but 50 hours for the entire school year.
It's a bit
And that's-
insufficient, isn't it?
Yeah.
Goes well with that assistant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other comments or questions?
We've talked about this before, just my growing concern about state mandated items that go unfunded. I mean, at what point do we really analyze that and, you know, at some point just decide, no.
Well, I think you're right. You hit the money, or hit the nail on the head. And I'm not suggesting we do this, because the real issue is, in this particular case, what do you do with 28 Arabic-speaking kids? It's not so much telling the state we're not going to do it as much as what do we really do? And if we didn't address this appropriately, what does it do to the other 250 in the school, right? We have this issue going on. So this is, to me, this is one of those that doesn't even require a lot of thought. We have something here that we have to deal with and deal with appropriately. However, the follow-up is a conversation with NIU and then going, maybe we start looking other places where we can push back that wouldn't make such a mess, if you will. Right? I mean, that's just, because I think we're there. I mean, you know, there was an article about that, I believe. I don't know if you did that one, Katie, but there's been over 200 unfunded mandates from the state of Illinois since, what, 08, I think, or 09, something like that.
It was 40 some this year.
Yeah. So we're there. And oftentimes, I think some of these things, if we chose wisely, I don't even know if they notice. Because not like there's anybody in their office buildings down there doing the work to check to see if we did it, right? I mean, it's silly, but it's to that
I think we
point.
would notice though in the school, because somehow we have to serve these kids, even if it's not
I'm
inherently.
not suggesting
We have to
this.
have a reading interventionist or instructional coaches.
No, I'm not suggesting this is that instance. I'm saying, and we've talked a little bit, there's
Yes.
Other places.
reports and all these things that we're supposed to send downstate that require lots of administrative hours or assistant hours. And frankly, I don't know if anybody's reading them. I bet if you showed up with them 12 months late, nobody noticed. You know, so we have talked about what fights we want to pick, so to speak, with this, and this is clearly not one.
It's probably 11%. Like you know, their prorating is 11%. 11% of the minutes.
Well, no, I was just saying other issues, you know, with our PE program at the elementary schools, which is phenomenal. But I can tell you right now, with the Luda districts, larger district associations, we're one of only about 3 or 4 out of 55 school districts that provide PE 5 days a week. Most of them have it 2 days a week. They've been audited on it. They've been dinged on it by the Illinois State Board of Education, and there's been no retaliation, or they've lost no funding. Well, the proration, but they've lost no funding because.
Well, they've not been penalized for non-reply.
They've not been, correct. Elgin being one of the largest. Think about that. That's, you would have to hire well over 100 FTE to get 5 day a week PE.
All right, well, any other questions or comments regarding our 25 new students? All right, this is an action item. Roll call, please, Vicki.
Victoria Newport. Yes. Casey Williams.
Yes.
Colin Barnes.
Yes.
Dina Fontana.
Yes.
Vicky, you're in favor?
Yes.
Mary Hess. Yes. Tom Tia.
Yes.
All right, thanks, everybody. Next, we have an information item. It's the insurance committee report. Jim Mormon.
We have received from our insurance broker, Mesro, a proposal to renew
our insurances. The insurances that are up this year are health insurance and dental insurance. The eye vision insurance and the life insurances are not up this year. They have, I think it was a 3-year contract on those, so those are not before us now. But the renewals are for health and dental. The insurance committee met, and the proposal from to keep everything the same from Mesro was in the dental insurance, it would be an increase of 3.9%, and in the health was 3.5%. The overall proposal that is made is what was $600 and some thousand difference, that difference in additional cost. And so the committee as a whole was of the opinion that we should keep everything the same and have the additional rates increases reflected and continue to renew as is. We visited this as administration, and recommending to the board that they consider making some tweaks in the plan in order to save and offset the money that the increase is. To be able to, and Mesro gave us a variety of things that we could do that would offset some of that cost. I forwarded to the board that information with your board packet of what the savings are for each of those items. Some of the things that we are proposing is to increase some of the deductibles and the like, small amounts. Certainly not, even if these changes are made, we would still have one of the richer insurance programs compared to what's out there in the rest of the work world. We also are, so we're suggesting changing the deductible, raising it on the low option, the low out-of-pocket option by $250 from $500 to $750, increasing the copay to a doctor from $30 to $40, increasing the prescription copay from $20 to $30, increasing the out-of-pocket limits, all of which would save us some money, and also the instituting an additional copay if one uses the emergency room. Right now, the way the plan is written, if you go to the emergency room, you have essentially no out-of-pocket other than your deductible. And once your deductible is met, and most insurance plans in the marketplace right now have a copay for using the emergency room. If you use the emergency room and you, in fact, it is an emergency and they admit you to the hospital, that copay is not charged. If you go to the idea is that it helps to having this copay, it helps funnel the people who are using the plan toward less expensive alternatives. So many times an employee might be able to go to an urgent care center and spend $150 versus I don't know that you can get in and out of an emergency room under $1,000. And so for that reason it is recommended that be done in addition to. The other thing that was with the committee was that they wanted to stay with Delta Dental, which was a 3.9% increase, which would increase our cost by about $17,000. If we would change to MetLife with very comparable coverages, we would have the ability to save $50,000 instead. We have compared the networks for MetLife versus Delta. And the difference is in our zip code, it's a difference whether we have 16 participating dentists with MetLife or 19 with Delta Dental. MetLife within 30 miles of DeKalb have 639 dentists. I'm stunned how many dentists there are in the world. And Delta is very comparable. The way they run their database, I couldn't get a total count of how many there were in that 30 miles. But it looks like it's going to be very similar. So I don't think we'd be giving up much in the way of networks. We would not be giving up much of anything in the way of coverages, and it would save $50,000. The proposal that we have put together for you to consider is the difference is the proposal from the committee increased costs $260,000, and the recommendation of the administration is we would have costs increase $400. So I know it's not a popular thing, and I have to change, Dennis, if you make that change. So anyway, it's something that's before you for you to study. This is informational only. In your packet is the list of recommendations from Mesro. You can pick and choose whatever you want, and we can work with them as well. I'm open to any questions you have.
I'm gonna have to make an appointment. I have a lot of stuff I need to be explained to me, so just to make sure I understand. I appreciate the information being sent out, but anybody else tell?
Yeah, I'm glad the administration's looking at a way to control our costs. You made one kind of blanket statement, Jim, kind of saying that this plan is still very attractive, one of the better plans maybe for school districts. I think it'd be helpful for me if you could bring some comparables to other districts to show what their plans are, and then we could compare it against our old plan and the one that you're proposing. I think that would be, I think, helpful information for me.
Anyone else?
Can I ask, we have an insurance set for Thursday, so to the committee. Are any of these things we're considering, or do we just come back with the comparables at the next board meeting, and then from that board meeting, we return back to our committee and let them know these are things that will be changing, because a decision has to be made, is it by November?
I think, yeah, the open enrollment is November, so.
Oh, okay. So then, before open enrollment on how we proceed and inform the committee. So that's why the committee set the date for Thursday to be able to respond to whatever the direction is from this board.
Well, I think this goes back to last year. We kind of got a lot of 2 years ago, we got a lot of short notice to deal with insurance.
Right.
So I guess we have a few weeks more this time, but we're going to use them. Because we do need to see the comparables. I need to get a better handle on things. So I would suggest that we revisit this next board meeting. You guys will have a chance to see some comparables, see what's out there, ask any questions of Jim or Andrea, what this really means. And then I think we'll have a much more informed discussion at the next meeting.
Yes. And I think the one thing that I really want to make sure that, is out here, that it was in the explanation. One of the additional costs we have in the health plan is the Affordable Care Act added fees of $273,000 for next year. So everything that we're dealing with.
Yeah, that's not new though, so.
It's going up. It's going up.
Yes, but we've talked about that for some time. It's more the ramifications of some of these prospective changes. Anyone else? Does that sound, is there a consensus to revisit this at the next meeting?
I mean, you don't need to give me comparables what's going on outside school, because I think everyone's been affected by higher deductibles, higher rates, increased pressure on improving your own personal health. So I think this is something we need to consider really seriously.
So maybe you postpone your insurance committee meeting until after the next meeting. If that makes sense. I'm not telling you what to do. But.
Yes.
Any other comments? Jim, you're up again with a permanent substitute proposal.
I just say Sandy. I've been asked to explore the
possibility of utilizing permanent subs. Earlier in the year, the board had decided to utilize 2 permanent subs at the high school, which are to be floating subs to fill in. Basically, they're sub number 1 and sub number 2 on any given day. I was able to take and do an analysis of all of the absences from last year, and by using the sub finding system that we have, and was able to, even in our smaller schools, the only way this could ever cost us more is if on a given day, everybody came, and there was not an occasion that happened. So the proposal is that there are 11, is that we utilize 11 more permanent subs. The attractiveness to a permanent sub is that person knows they are going to have every student attendance day, they have an assignment. It's not hit and miss. They know what building they'll be in. Generally, a couple of the smaller buildings, we would have to pair them in order for them to share someone where they would, to make sure we got good use. And then they have even a third alternative where they would be needed. But being able to secure 11 additional subs to make it 13 would allow us to really secure some people that would be quality subs that we could use on a consistent basis without incurring any additional cost. The only possibility that we would have an additional cost was if for some reason we did not have enough teaching positions to have substitutes for, and we utilize one of those individuals in an assistant role, it would cost about $40 extra for that day. I don't see that happening, but if it did, it would be very, very rare because the assistants have 20-some vacancies every day.
I'd just like to add, the reason this came up was because, I mean, from the very first week of school, I was getting calls from principals that there's a shortage of subs already. I mean, week 1, we were having trouble filling sub positions. So we do agree that, having individuals who know that they're going to be in the same building every day, different classrooms. So they're not being paid as a long-term sub in a particular classroom, or after, was it 15 days? Yes. They get a much higher rate, because, and that much higher rate is to reflect the fact that they're probably doing lesson plans and grading and so forth. Whereas these would be day-to-day subs within those buildings.
So the data is before you. Again, this is just an informational item. At the next meeting, if you have any questions between now and then, feel free to get in contact with me. I'll be glad to answer any of those or do any additional research you'd like to have. You'd like to see my data. I'd be glad to share that with you. But and then if you give us the okay, then we would start trying to secure those subs so we can hopefully alleviate some of the stress that's out there right now, the lack of substitutes.
I have one question, Jim. How does our sub pay right now compare with other districts?
We're $95 a day. We are very comparable to the neighborhood. I will do another survey to see if anybody else is going up. I haven't given much thought, but just off the top of my head, I also wonder whether it would really help a lot if we went up $5 more. Just, $100 sounds a lot more than 95, but I don't mentally.
I ask because I do know that, many times subs will go to one district as opposed to another, because it is $5, $10
And Nina,
more.
that's actually why I think it was just 2 years. Because last year, just last year, we moved from 85 to $95
Right.
because this issue was already getting to be a chronic problem.
Yeah.
So we will do, I'll go ahead and while I'm out, I will get a survey of our neighbors to see whether or not we're still comparable or whether it's something that we need to address just a little bit.
Thank you.
Is there any policy, you didn't see anything here for, how does it work for a sub for a sub? Let's just say if someone's out, is there a penalty if they miss so many days? What's going to happen there?
In a sub, even when we hire them as a permanent sub, there is no commitment to them. We've made the commitment that we'll use them, but if they become unreliable, we can say no thank you with very little effort.
Well, and just tagging on what Nina was saying, I mean, if it makes it more attractive to get better permanent subs, it's $10 or $15 a day. I mean, I just see a lot of heads nodding by the principals out there. This is needed.
It's a serious problem.
So,
Very, very serious.
you could just head and nod your heads. But this is one of those things where a few dollars can maybe make a big difference. So I would encourage you to look at that hard too. Okay.
Any other comments? All right, thank you, Jim. Lastly, an action item. It's been recommended that the Board of Education hold a second reading and approve recommended revisions from the Illinois Association of School Boards to Board of Education policies as attached. I need a motion. Thank you. Thank you. Any discussion on our second reading?
You look good.
I thought so too. All right, Vicki.
Colin Barr.
Yes.
Nina Fontana.
Yes.
Vicky Hearn in favor.
Yes.
Mary Hess. Yes. Tom Tia.
Yes.
Victoria Newport. Yes. Tracy Williams.
Yes. All right, well, thank you, everyone. I need a motion to adjourn, please.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.